All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome. Another exciting daily vlog. This is Daily Vlog 2025, number 292. And today, we got to talk about the powers of the Rangers. Yup. So, I needed a drink. So, we need to talk about this new Power Rangers controversy. And if you are thinking, oh my god, Power Rangers controversy is the new TV series over at Disney Plus, is something gone wrong there? No. Oh, are they trying to make a new, movie that's super? Nope. Oh, are the Power Rangers fans insulting Super Sentai again? Nope. All is good on that front. No. What has happened is there's a YouTube channel called Ninja Kids TV. And as far as I can tell, Ninja Kids TV. Well, here I will read their blurb for you. So, Ninja Kids TV produces family friendly entertainment that features action packed adventures, hilarious comedy, and energetic music videos. Ninja Kids' mission is to inspire through wholesome entertainment, skill building experiences, and meaningful products that spark imagination, support a healthy lifestyle, and develop strong character, all grounded in our 5 ninja values: respect, discipline, honesty, gratitude, and courage. We are skilled athletes, trained to safely perform all skills and stunts in our videos. All stunts are performed with a priority for safety under the direction of adult professionals. Do not attempt without proper training and supervision of a responsible adult professional. NKTV is not responsible for the actions of viewers who attempt what they see on a video. All right. Let's start off with one of my biggest issues with this whole thing. All grounded in our 5 ninja values. Ninja is not a martial art. It doesn't matter how many different places you can show it. Oh, this guy teaches authentic ninjutsu. It's not a thing. It's not a real thing. Ninja is a job, or was a job. It's not a job anymore. Ninja was a job. That's like saying, I learned the art of bouncing. Bounce fool. Where we watch Roadhouse every Friday night and then mimic it. It's not a real thing. Ninjutsu is a story. Ninjutsu is quite literally just something that was made up for stories and entertainment. It's not a real thing. And I hate it so much when we go, oh, the properties of a ninjutsu. Yes, piety, severity, economics. None of that stuff is real. Now, again, I grew up studying martial arts. Started with karate because my dad taught me a very, very little bit when I was very young. Actually learned Taekwondo. And fun fact, the Taekwondo that I learned actually had what we called the tenets of Taekwondo. And I'm going to see if I can remember what they were. So, integrity. I can't remember any of them. We used to have to. We used to have this pledge that we would say at the I think at the beginning of every class, and at the end of it we would list. I think it was like the 5 tenets of Taekwondo. I remember the last one was indomitable spirit. But the idea of a martial art having these tenets where they exemplify certain ideals has history. If I remember correctly, it actually comes from like Taoism and the kind of merging of Taoism and Buddhism that happened. Fun fact, since I got to talk about religion in my last video, one of the more interesting aspects of Buddhism, other than the fact that the religion itself is really kind of fascinating, um, is religions spread. Like that's how they work. That's how they're designed. Um, and the absolute vast majority of religions, when they spread, um, they they tend to remain relatively consistent. They may, pick up little features and things of the culture around them, but for the most part, they tend to supplant the culture that they spread into. Buddhism doesn't do that, and because of that, there are quite a few different kind of flavors of Buddhism. Not because people interpret the text differently, which is generally how things like all the different denominations of Christianity. Those all tend to boil down to people reading the exact same book and having different interpretations of the text. But it's all based on the same thing. It's just different, interpretations. Buddhism, on the other hand, as it kind of spread through China, it's incorporated aspects of Confucianism, basically the teachings of Confucius, and Taoism. When it got into Japan, it adopted, I can't remember the name of the religion, but it adopted the kind of ancestral worship that was commonplace in most Japanese culture. And again, from a religious standpoint, that's absolutely fascinating to me. So tangent over. So the idea of martial arts having these ideals or something that are built into it. Again, it's really, really common. Ninja isn't a martial art, and these things are just made up words. So respect, discipline, honesty, gratitude, and courage. Like those are discipline and honesty tend to be relatively common in a lot of different martial arts. There'll be some of the tenets. Gratitude is a new one I haven't heard. Courage can be, but generally courage is not something, at least in most kind of Eastern martial arts. Courage isn't the thing that's kind of focused on. It tends to be folded into the idea of like honor or various interpretations of that word, because being cowardly is also considered being dishonorable, but being full of courage doesn't also cover all the other tenets of like honor that would be necessary to be considered an honorable person. Discipline, again, that's a relatively common one. Gratitude, I have never heard of being a tenet in any martial art that I've ever heard of. And then respect, again, I don't think I can remember a specific martial art where they specifically singled out respect as one of their tenets. But again, a lot of times the idea of respect is kind of folded into the idea of honor in general, which tends to be very, very prevalent in most Eastern martial arts. And a somewhat decent amount of Western martial arts. Once you start creating a martial art form, whether you're talking about like historic European martial arts where it's sword play and things like that, or boxing or things like that, honor, in boxing, being honorable is like not fighting dirty. And while yes, there are people that fight very dirty in boxing, they're looked down upon pretty epically. So yeah, however, I have seen all of those things as part of Saturday morning cartoons aimed at children, which is what Ninja Kids TV is. It is the return of Saturday morning cartoons with a bunch of kids that look to be martial artists. I have no idea what martial arts they study. I've not watched any of their stuff. I have no interest in watching their stuff. However, they have recently gotten into controversy because... Now, I have heard different stories. I have not been able to confirm a lot of it. So understand that some of this is going to be a little bit of hearsay. Feel free to correct me in the comments if I get anything wrong. But my understanding is they somehow were able to negotiate a license from Hasbro to create some Power Rangers stuff. And they have been. If you go to their YouTube channel, their most recent video, which went up about 4 weeks ago, is called Power Rangers Ninja Kids Movie, all 9 episodes. Basically, they made a bunch of like little mini videos that had Power Rangers themes. But as far as I could tell, on the channel itself, the only one that exists right now is Ultimate Health Bar Battle. And then the Power Rangers Ninja Kids movie, all 9 episodes. I can't find any other Ninja Kids Power Rangers stuff. Well, if that happened a month ago, why is it a controversy now? Well, because the videos that are currently on are not the problem. See, again, as far as I can tell, they released a trailer yesterday for their quote unquote like big budget movie thing that they were going to be doing. That was Power Rangers, which fine. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but the Power Rangers fan community is remarkably large, and fan films happen a lot. There was one that actually got a few people, I don't want to say in trouble, but it like Jason David Frank actually came out against this particular movie. And the reason why, I think it was called like Power Rangers or something like that. You could still find it if you type in Power Rangers Gritty Reboot. In fact, I'm even going to do that right now. All right, so yeah, Power / Rangers is what it was called. And hold please. Really? Sorry, just wanted to mute my mic so I didn't have to worry about accidentally getting some of the video on the recording. So, yeah, it is. They just call it Power Rangers short film, but it was nonsense to say the least. The reason why is, and I'm going to actually look for. All right, so the cast. This Power / Rangers or Power Rangers short film had Katie Sackhoff as Kimberly, James Vanderbeek as Rocky. I'm trying to see if there's other people that I recognize. This is here. I don't recognize their names. Those are the two that I was really familiar with. If you don't know who Katie Sackhoff is, she was on the Battlestar Galactica reboot. She played Starbuck. And James Vanderbeek was dude from Dawson's Creek. Right? No. James Vanderbeek. Where is he from? James Vanderbeek. Yeah, he's... Yeah, he was on Dawson's Creek. He was the other guy from Dawson's Creek. So yeah, it had a big budget and it looked crazy, but it was extremely dark. Like there was a scene of the Black Ranger coming in and just murdering a bunch of people because he was now an assassin for hire. And they talked about how, there was a bunch of kids that got drafted into this war and how evil that was. And now somebody's going around and murdering all the Power Rangers. And it was a super dark fan film. So the idea of fan films being a thing is not what's upsetting people so much. It's the fact that the trailer, and we would assume the movie itself, heavily used AI for, I think, the vast majority of their special effects. And people went nuts. Now, I'm going to say something that's going to upset some people. And I want you all to know, It is perfectly okay to feel the things that you're feeling. But if you attack me for this, please, and I mean this with the utmost respect and dignity, go fuck yourselves. I do not have the problem with AI that other people do. I just don't, for two main reasons. One, the industry that I was associated with for a long time, the music industry, has already gone through this before with autotune. Basically, AI art and stuff like that effectively allows people that have not spent the years of training and the thousands of hours of work to become competent artists or special effects artists or anything like that. AI allows them to do that. What's it called? Autotune effectively did the same thing with singing. Now you no longer had to spend, hundreds, if not thousands of hours training your voice and learning proper technique and all these other things. Now anybody could just sound amazing. And how many artists were replaced by autotune? None. There are still artists that use autotune. They're generally looked down upon pretty heavily. And autotune can't actually make you a good singer. It can make you hit the right pitches, but there's so much more to singing than just hitting the right pitches. Everything from emoting to phrasing and things like that, as far as like where you put your breaths and things like that. Autotune just simply will never be able to turn someone who has no ability to sing into a superstar. It's just not possible. And one of the things that autotune eventually turned into was a tool for people that already were very good at singing to make their voice sound very different, i.e., the Cher effect. Effectively, if anyone doesn't know, Cher is a singer. She is an incredibly skilled vocalist. And she always has been. Back when she was Sonny and Cher with her husband at the time, she was very, very skilled. And then she had a solo career that kind of died off, if I remember correctly, in like the early to late 80s. And then she saw this resurgence in the 90s with this song, Do You Believe in Life After Love? And one of the defining features of it is the chorus is, do you believe in life after love? But that life after love is auto-tuned so that it has this very kind of robotic, metallic sound to it. And it was something completely different. No one had ever heard something like that before intentionally. And it worked. And then we have other artists. I think forgive me if I'm attributing the wrong artist to this. This is not a genre of music I listen to a ton of. But I believe like T-Pain uses autotune extensively in his stuff. It's not that he can't sing, but autotune allows him to create sounds in a way that he can't. And the same thing was true about Cher. It's not that Cher couldn't hit the notes. Cher could hit those notes, 7 days from Sunday. Like, she's incredibly skilled. But it made a different sound and it evoked a different emotion. And that is the entire purpose of music, is to evoke emotions and inspire emotions in others. So when we get to AI art and stuff like that, I don't have this massive, you're taking all these. No, first of all, AI can't do the things that people think that it can. And we're starting to see that we basically kind of hit the peak of what AI can and can't do. And I've been like, I've watched, podcasts and stuff like that where people are talking with like industry experts. And basically, my understanding is the people that are really, really pushing AI right now are CEOs and high-level C-suite managers who don't actually do any of the coding or the programming or anything that AI is supposedly replacing. And the people that are kind of over it are all of the people that actually have to interact with it, because it's hit a limit. It can't actually be creative in any way, shape, or form. What AI does exceptionally well is it's exceptionally good at gathering data and iterating upon that data. But that's not actually creative. It's just repeating numbers over and over and over again. And there's a lot of different situations where that's extremely helpful. AI based computing is absolutely phenomenally useful. But as far as AI taking away animators' jobs and stuff like that, it's really not going to be a thing. You know, we've already started, and this is a perfect example. We've already started seeing that there are massive limitations to what AI can do, and the technology itself that AI is replacing has gotten so user friendly and so affordable compared to what it used to be that most people can learn basic like photo editing. Most people can pick up Photoshop and do some basic photo editing with very little training whatsoever. Like it's Photoshop in and of itself is a remarkably robust program. It's what I use for all of my thumbnails. It's also what I use for all of my overlays and things like that. It is a phenomenally amazing program that I underutilize massively because there's so much that you can do with it. However, it is also incredibly user-friendly compared to how it used to be. Again, it's not extremely user-friendly because, again, it's a very high-end product. In order for it to be able to do all the things that it does, there's some complexity to it. But most people can kind of pick it up and learn how to do it. And the same is true about special effects editing with things like After Effects and all these other things. And now with the onset of how cheap 3D modeling programs have become, again, compared to what they used to be. I'm not saying that they're cheap. I'm saying that they've become significantly less expensive compared to what they used to be. And yeah, it's really not that difficult to get your start in the realm of special effects. Now, to get to the point where you can be working on like Hollywood movies and stuff like that, it still takes a lot of time. It still takes a lot of effort. But when we look back at like Power Rangers fan films, even if we go back 10, 15 years ago, people were putting out fan films of Power Rangers that looked better than the Power Rangers television show. And especially if you understand just how easy it is to make practical effects nowadays. Because that's another thing that has gotten significantly easier. One of the kind of hallmarks of Power Rangers is kind of the over-the-top effects. There's lots of explosions, and every time you hit a bad guy, there's all these sparks that come out. Back when Power Rangers was first being, created and everything, pyrotechnics and stuff like that, not only was that expensive, like the actual chemicals and everything you needed to make it was expensive, but it's also very, very hard to do safely. And it's just not anymore. I'm not saying pyrotechnics is easy or that it's super safe for anybody to do. No, you still need to know what you're doing. But again, not only is it something that the average human being can learn, but there are so many people that actually have the skills already necessary that you can hire to do it for you that it's really not the barrier to entry that it used to be. And so when we talk about this AI, the AI special effects that they used, the special effects that they used, like they have a full Goldar suit, but they used AI to make his mouth move. Or for the morphing sequences, they used AI to do the morphing sequences instead of doing the more traditional way, which is effectively just green screen works, which has existed for decades. And a few other things like putties disintegrating was done with AI and stuff like that. And people are writing about this. And again, most of the people are just getting mad and says, well, it's AI, it's evil. I'm not mad that they used AI. Again, I'm not mad because AI is in there. I'm mad that they have the ability to make a significantly higher quality product, and they decided to use AI there. As far as I was able to tell, because they did make a statement. By the way, if you're looking for the trailer, it doesn't exist anymore. They took it down. They deleted all the videos. It looks like they're kind of wiping out that aspect as much as they can. But they made a statement. Well, isn't AI supposed to make it so that everybody can do things even if they don't have, all the skills necessary to do it? That's what it's supposed to be doing. No, it's not in any way, shape, or form. And here's the thing. Ninja Kids TV has 21.1 million subscribers. To give you a comparison, Markiplier, one of the largest channels on YouTube, and someone that has not just made like high quality videos, he has made effectively feature length films using his YouTube channel. And they look better than half the stuff that you see in theaters. Markiplier has 37.8 million subscribers. So Ninja Kids is about 13 million subscribers under Markiplier. They are effectively 2/3 of Markiplier. The idea that they couldn't hire a special effects artist to create their morphing sequence is insulting. They 100% could, and it would have looked a lot better than what they had. The same thing is true, like the Goldar having his mouth move. There's no reason to do that. In the most recent series of Power Rangers, they were still using actors in foam suits whose mouths didn't move, or if they did move, it was like a single joint that could flip up and down, which is almost the exact same technology that they used in 1993 for Goldar. So the idea of, we want Goldar's mouth to move, why? You are obviously missing the point of Power Rangers. It was never supposed to be hyper-realistic. They have always had actors in foam suits that didn't have mouths, and didn't have moving mouths, and nobody batted an eye. It just wasn't something that we cared about. The morphing sequence, again, if you want, you could go on YouTube and just to type in fan morphing sequence, and you will find tons and tons of examples of morphing sequences that people that didn't even have access to full-on Photoshop or After Image or Premiere Pro or any of the really high-end editing stuff, a lot of these people did it on Windows Movie Maker, and it still looked relatively close to the original morphing sequences. Creating a morphing sequence is not difficult. Now, if you want to go a full-on Dino Fury, where they jump into the air and there's all this 3D stuff, that takes a decent amount of time. I'm not gonna lie, but just a morphing sequence is not that difficult. And even those higher end ones, again, that does take actual knowledge of special effects and editing and the things like that. And especially if you want them floating in the air, it actually takes some specialty equipment. You have to have wires and a rig to be able to have them floating in the air. You have to have a camera setup that can rotate, whether you're doing the bullet time style camera, where it's not actually a camera that's rotating around. It is a bunch of cameras that are all shooting at the exact same time, and it basically switches between the various cameras. All of that takes money, takes setup and stuff like that. But a really basic morphing sequence, I'll be honest, give me, I don't know, a couple months. If my brain lets me, I could probably learn how to create a basic morphing sequence without too much difficulty. And the cost for a green screen It's not that much. There's a few $100 if you want to get like an actual green screen, or it's maybe like 20 or $30 worth of paint, and a wall. Like, green screening is not a difficult thing to do. I have used green screening in. I mean, it's technically how I do. Like, OBS has green screening built in. They call it chroma key, but it's the same basic principle. And I've used it in Premiere Pro back when I used to edit my videos, and I've used it in Photoshop. Like, green screen technology has been around for so long. It is so simple to use, and most programs do it automatically now. You don't need to be incredibly skilled. And that's my issue with this Power Rangers thing. It's, first of all, it's obviously a cash grab. And second of all, it seems to completely ignore the entire point of Power Rangers. To me, it feels like, they were able to get a license, which, again, there are so many fan films out there that I'm not sure how much a license was necessary. I guess if they want to make money off of it, they probably would have needed a license if they wanted it to be kind of a serious version. If you're making a parody, no license necessary, because fair use is a thing. But for them to kind of just make their own version of Power Rangers, yeah, that probably takes a license. So they were able to secure a license, and they just saw money on a franchise that right now is effectively dead. Like, there is a Power Rangers reboot that's coming. We hope. I mean, technically it's supposed to be in production. I've heard rumors that it's going to start shooting next year. But until it is actually published, as we've already seen with things like that Wile E. Coyote movie, until it is actually published, there is no guarantee it's going to ever be a real thing. So, they've basically gotten this license for a franchise that doesn't have anything going on right now. They seem to fairly obviously not understand the core draw of the material. And then, I don't know if it literally was just an effort to not spend more money than they want, or I think it's also equally possible that everything on this channel is done internally as far as editing and special effects and things like that. And they just didn't want to bring on effectively an independent contractor to do something. They just wanted to do everything themselves, but didn't want to have to actually take the time to teach themselves how to do special effects. Because things like those little spark explosions, those are super, super easy. You get squibs and you can make the little spark things happen without too much difficulty anymore. Like, that's not a hard thing to do. If you want like explosions and stuff that are significantly safer for the actors, where they're entirely CG, again, not a difficult thing to do anymore. I could add explosions to this if I really wanted to. I'm not going to. Don't wait for me to go and then like making CG explosions. Like, you can just buy CG explosions and then just insert them into things. That's a thing that exists. I think Adobe might actually sell explosions as part of their stock videos and stuff like that you can just use. So it's not like you need to be this incredibly industrious, like old school explosions and stuff like that. What they used to have to do is actually blow shit up, film it, and then take that image and superimpose it onto, the image of the actors or stuff like that. Like, that's what they used to have to do, and you just don't have to do that anymore. And none of that involves AI. Like, it's all stuff that already exists. So yeah, like, it's, and then again, all I can judge is the 2 videos that they have on there. But things like the suits that they have look okay. They're not the best looking Power Ranger suits that I've ever seen. But the helmets are all the wrong proportions. Like, Power Rangers helmets generally look like they're just barely larger than the heads of the actors. And so when you're looking at a Power Ranger when they're morphed, they don't look like, somebody turned on big head mode in GoldenEye. It's that, and these don't look that way. The helmets are far too big for the bodies of these kids. And again, my guess, either they purchased STLs, which are 3D printing models. They purchased STLs of the helmets and then printed them themselves, and the helmets themselves were just designed for adults. Or they just found another way to make helmets. Again, making helmets, not a difficult thing to do. Like if I wanted let me rephrase that. I want a Mighty Morphin Green Ranger helmet badly. More than anything I've wanted in my entire life. More than my Dragon Dagger, more than my Morpher. I want a Mighty Morphin Green Ranger helmet. I've wanted it since I was a kid. If I wanted to go out and get it right now, I can get a pretty high quality custom made Green Ranger helmet for between like $400 to $600, which for me is incredibly expensive because I'm on disability. So I don't get real money. And I'm not allowed to have money. So even saving up for something like that is next to impossible. Like I'm allowed to save up for things like fixing the house, but I'm not allowed to save up for a Green Ranger helmet. The joys of disability. But for a channel with 24.1 million subscribers, who their other videos like the Ultimate Health Bar Battle, which is the only other Power Rangers video they have other than their full movie where it says all 9 episodes, has 1 million views on it. Their all 9 episodes has 1.6 million views. The other videos they have, 2.1 million, 6.8 million, 1.7 million, 3.2 million, 9.5 million, 3.2 million. These are not, this is not a tiny channel that's getting barely any views. And they have a second channel, if I remember correctly, because I thought they mentioned that they had a second channel here. Let us look. Merch. Oh, and they also have merch and all this other stuff. Maybe they don't have another channel, and I was just, my brain made that up. But this is not a small channel. I have no idea if this is like one of those family channels where all of the kids are actually related to each other, or not. But I mean, it's relatively obvious that this is a relatively successful channel. There's no reason that they couldn't spend, like if they wanted to, there's no reason that they couldn't spend, a few $100s getting custom made helmets for each kid. Like that's within a production budget, especially if you're going to be using them for multiple projects. For maybe just a single project, maybe that's not a great idea. But if you're going to be making a lot of content using these things, then yeah, you can afford to do that. And that's kind of how business is supposed to work. You invest your profits back into the business so that you can keep creating more product. And the idea that either they couldn't take the time to learn special effects well enough to do their own special effects, or they couldn't hire a freelance editor that would be able to do like a morphing sequence. I will guarantee you, if you want like a professional quality morphing sequence and you have like the camera and green screens and everything to be able to do it, the editor, you can probably get the entire editing for your morphing sequence for under $1,000 easily. You might be able to get it for a few $100s, depending on how crazy you want your morphing sequence to look. But if you just want a basic like Mighty Morphin Power Rangers morphing sequence, you can hire a professional freelance editor, and I will guarantee you, if it costs you more than a few $100s, I would be very, very surprised, because it's just not that much work. Not compared to how it used to be. And as long as you film it correctly, you make it very, very easier for the you make it very, very easy for the editor to do it. Now, if you want something more substantial, like if you look at like the Once a Ranger morphing sequence for Adam, that morphing sequence. You see him like morph, and then he goes, and there's explosions, and then he jumps and flips into the air, and then there's more explosions. That it's probably going to run you closer to the like $500 to $1,000 range, because unless you already have those 3D environments already created, they're going to have to do some pretty extensive stuff, especially if you don't actually have the ability to do like the wire work filming, and so they have to create like a 3D model of a human being and then superimpose the face of your actor onto it. Again, all that stuff is 100% possible to do now. And it's not exorbitantly difficult to do now, but it does take skill and training to do it, which is why you want to hire an actual freelance editor to do it. It's gonna save you it's gonna save you so much money in the amount of time it'll teach you to do it yourself. So yeah, like I said, I am a massive Power Rangers fan. I want to see more people getting into Power Rangers. But this, to me, doesn't feel like this is something that's going to get like a new generation to Power Rangers, or even that it's going to get the actors interested in Power Rangers. This, to me, feels like a cash grab. And the fact that they used AI for all of this different stuff when they really didn't need to, and it actually created a significantly worse product. Because again, my issue with AI is not that I'm afraid it's going to take all the jobs away. My issue with AI is it doesn't look good. And I don't think it's ever going to get to the point where it does. And again, I've seen all the like AI, girls, like Grok can make a girl that looks 100% real. Those are very, very tiny, minuscule, like less than a minute clips that it was able to create. And it still has an issue. It still has uncanny valley aspects. If you're not familiar with the term the uncanny valley refers to as you get closer and closer to something artificial mimicking something real, you eventually reach this point where it becomes extremely unsettling. There's just something about it that feels exceptionally wrong. And that's referred to as the uncanny valley. It's this valley between being able to create something artificial and have it look like it's not artificial, like it's actually organic. There's just this massive valley that no one's been able to figure out even why it exists. But the closer we get to something mimicking like a real human, the more wrong it feels. And you just sit there and go, no, I don't like that. Maybe we look, what was it? During, what was it called? Was it Secret Invasion was the TV series? I think that's the Marvel TV series. It got into huge problems because the entire intro sequence was created with AI. And the reason that they said that they used it, which I actually believe, was that the AI made it look weird. And they wanted that uncanny valley feeling, because that's the whole point of the Secret Invasion storyline in Marvel. Is really, really brilliant, because effectively what it was the Skrulls have made it to Earth, and not only that, but they have replaced a large portion of the population, including a few superheroes. And so the Secret Invasion storyline was basically this: you don't know who you can trust. Kind of like full-on Invasion of the Body Snatchers kind of a feeling, because you don't know if you're talking to a Skrull or if you're talking to a human. And that was what Secret Invasion was supposed to portray. It didn't. It's not a good series. I watched the whole thing. I thought it had a lot of potential. It did not live up to any of the potential. It's one of the not worst, but worse Marvel TV series that they've made. There are ones that are worse than that. But it's definitely not in the upper half of quality. they intentionally used AI because it makes people uncomfortable, because it gives you that uncanny valley feeling. And that's kind of what I saw here. Like every single time there was any AI stuff, first of all, it was blatantly obvious. There was no attempt to try and make it look like, oh, we didn't use AI or anything like that. Like some people will attempt to do, or they're like, well, no, it's not AI, and then it comes out as like, okay, maybe it is AI, but no, it was blatantly obvious. It was poorly done. I don't know what program they used to do it, but it wasn't very good, and it didn't look like Power Rangers. And I think that was my biggest problem with it. If you're going to get a license for this, the thing, you're going to make a fan film. Put the work in. Put the effort in. Again, fans have been making Power Rangers fan films for decades, and some of them are freaking amazing. There's quite a few on YouTube that are just freaking cool. And they come up with really unique ideas and stuff like that. This is not it. This is a cash grab. This is exploiting a fan base in the hopes that you could drain money out of them. And in an attempt to make even more money, you used AI to do things that would never be done in a real Power Rangers, in a real Power Rangers series or movie. Like, I mean, Turbo had a shoestring budget, had plot holes out the wazoo. It just, and by the way, I still watch Turbo to this day. I love it, but I will admit it was a bad movie. The first Power Rangers movie gets a bad rep because the CGI is really bad, but it was good for the time. Well, I guess it wasn't really good for the time because that was the same time that we had Jurassic Park. It was okay for the time. But the movie itself is fun. It's in my opinion, it's a good movie. And Paul Freeman, dear Lord, that guy created one of the best villains that has ever existed in Power Rangers. Ivan Ooze is a brilliant villain, and he's played so exceptionally well. Like, man, the first Power Rangers movie is a banger. Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, is less so. It's still fun, but it's not a good movie. And they didn't try and do anything like that. Like, they went back to actors in foam suits for their Megazord instead of using CG like they did in the Power Rangers movie. They went back to practical effects. Like, all of the explosions were real explosions. They weren't putting imaginary explosions or CG monsters or anything like that. It was all practical effects. And it's great. Again, not a good movie, but it's immensely fun. That... Even in the most recent Power Rangers series, Cosmic Fury, they didn't do any of this stuff. Like, the Megazords were still... I mean, technically the Megazords were taken from Sentai footage, which I believe was still using people in foam suits. They've started doing a little bit more of CG Megazords in Sentai, like the most recent one, Gozyuger. The kind of intro has a bunch of Megazords kind of fighting, and I believe that's entirely CG, but it's pretty good CG. I think for the actual, because they had all these previous Megazords, I think that's why they went with CG, because they didn't want to have to dig out all the costumes and get all the actors into it. Like, that's a lot of work, just for an intro. I believe, though, the actual Megazord that they use in the series is still the old, dude in a foam suit. Walking around, scale model buildings and stuff like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I have not watched Gozyuger, the newest Super Sentai, other than a few clips here and there, because I think it looks super, super cool. And I want to watch it. I haven't had a chance to. I think I even found a place where it was streaming with subtitles legally, and I was super thrilled about that. And I can't remember where it was I found that. But anyway, so yeah, like this, to me, this just screams money grab because they didn't understand the first tenet of Power Rangers. And again, the idea that all grounded in our 5 ninja values. That's a cash grab thing. That's not a real thing. It annoys me so much. Like one of my biggest pet peeves in the martial arts world is anyone that claims I know ninjutsu. And I know, Frank from down the street. Who the fuck cares? Ninjutsu isn't a real thing. It was a job. That's all it was. Ninjas were spies and assassins. And you know the kind of traditional ninja garb? Fun fact. You know the traditional ninja garb of like all black and the mask and everything like that? You want to know why that's associated with ninja? That's not actually ninja garb. That is theater guard. Or theater garb. Guard. Man, my brain's just not working. In Japanese theater, when they would have stagehands on the stage to do things, basically for their special effects, what they would do is they would dress them in all black with masks and things like that. And that was a sign to the audience that this person isn't really here. And so as part of the suspension of disbelief, it was kind of drilled into people's heads that when you see someone like that, dressed like that, they don't exist. You can just ignore them. They're not really there. And so one of the things that was popular in Japanese theater was the local samurai or shogun would be involved in the show quite often. And so one of the things that apparently happened, I don't know if this is history, if this is specific history, or if this is history mixed with folklore, but I believe it happened at least once, is a ninja was hired to assassinate either a samurai or a shogun, and they decided that the easiest way to get close enough to assassinate them was to basically replace one of these stagehands. By the way, that clad in all black thing for stagehands is still a thing in theater to this day. If you are a stagehand, your outfit is almost always going to be a long sleeve black shirt, black pants, black shoes, a black hat sometimes. And depending on what you're doing, they might even put black face paint on you just so that you can move around when the stage is dark and the audience won't be able to see you. I don't think the black face paint is extremely common anymore, simply because it mimics blackface and people don't want that happening. But yeah, that's how stagehands dress. And so yeah, legend has it that a ninja replaced one of these stagehands, assassinated the shogun or the samurai in front of everyone and was able to escape. And that made it that look get associated with ninjas. And so yeah, all these like ninjas with the face back, all of that is just stagehands. And they eventually started adding other colors because black started getting boring. So yeah, like I hate people that try to pretend that ninja is anything other than a job that doesn't exist anymore. I hate people that claim, oh, ninjutsu, I know ninjutsu, I know the true ninjutsu. I read the actual ninjutsu book. By the way, I've seen the actual ninjutsu book. It's fake. Ninjutsu is not a thing. It was made up for stories and entertainment. There was no martial art that all ninjas learned. There weren't these schools of ninjutsu that taught these. Nope, they were just assassins. And not even that. Like, ninja were not exclusively assassins. Significantly more often, they were just spies and thieves. Because killing people is remarkably difficult to get away with for very long. Once you start killing people, bad things start happening. It's not a good idea. For anyone that's thinking about it, not a good idea. You probably shouldn't get into that business in any way, shape, or form. Stealing shit, especially if it's just stealing information like spies, incredibly profitable, tends to be have a significantly longer lifespan for it being a viable job opportunity, significantly easier to pull off, and it doesn't get you the electric chair normally. So, yeah, a lot of ninjas never killed anybody. They were just really, really good spies. And thieves. Yeah, interested to hear from you guys. First of all, were any of you guys aware of this little controversy in the Power Rangers fandom? Second of all, what are your opinions on AI? I know a lot of people are vehemently against it because of the idea, well, it's taking away jobs. And technically, yes, it has stopped a few people from getting work because someone decided to use AI instead of hiring a professional. But as we've seen here, and as we've seen time and time and time and time and time and time again, there is an upper limit to what AI can do, and we have hit that wall. And just like what happened with what happened with the voice thing. God, my brain just doesn't work anymore, guys. It's so frustrating. Autotune. Just like with Autotune, when it first came out, everyone's like, oh my God, this is the most horrible thing ever, and it's going to take all these people's jobs away. It didn't. There's a limit to what Autotune can and can't do. And nowadays, what most people call Autotune actually isn't Autotune. It's something that has existed for decades longer than Autotune, which is multi-track recording. I have seen so many people go, look, when they don't have Autotune, this is what they sound like. No, that's when they don't have multi-track recording. A lot of people don't realize when you record the vocals for like a song that you're going to be releasing on an album or something like that, you don't like go into a recording booth and record the entire thing beginning to end like you see in the movies. What they do is they will have you sing beginning to end a couple times so that they can get the flow of everything so you can get it into your head. And then they go back section by section, sometimes as far as like a few measure by measure. And they go, hey, can we get another cover of this? And then what they do is they record it over and over and over and over and over again until they get a perfect example of every single phrase in the entire song. And then they mix and match them to create one congruent, perfect recording. There's no auto-tune involved. Any sufficiently skilled artist can sing a perfectly in tune note, or can sing a perfectly spaced phrase or anything like that. Like it's not difficult. Being able to do that consistently, that is very, very difficult. And being able to do that over the entirety of a song, or even more difficult, over the entirety of like an entire live concert, that is extremely difficult. And it takes a very, very high level of skill and years and years and years of training. But anyone can sing like a single measure, or a group of 8 bars or something like that perfectly if you give them enough time. And that's effectively what multi-track recording is. Autotune is generally not used very often in the professional music industry. It's used a little bit more often in the amateur music industry, and it's mostly used by people that don't understand multi-track recording because it's a vastly inferior sound to multi-track recording. It is faster than multi-track recording, so that's another reason why it's sometimes used. And I think that might be what it was here, is they don't understand how actual special effects worked, and so they tried to skip a bunch of stuff by using AI, and it just came out really shitty. And again, it probably cost them more to use the AI than it would have cost them to just hire an editor. When you factor in the loss of sales from the bad reputation, everything like that, like it probably cost them double to triple, if not like an order of magnitude more than it would have cost them to just hire a special effects artist or just hire a good editor. Like that's, because again, it's obvious that these people understand filmmaking well enough to know how to do the practical shots. So again, interested to hear from you guys. Do I have people in the audience that are just vehemently, if the word AI is even mentioned, you will boycott, you will scream and yell and all those things? Do we have anyone that has a slightly more kind of nuanced view like I do? Or do we have people? I'm gonna preface this with the idea that if you are pro AI, you may not want to publicly come out stating that, because it makes people real mad. But if you don't mind people being mad at you, Do we have people that are actually pro AI that actually think that it could be used as a tool, very similar to how autotune is used now to just create different things as opposed to replacing jobs and things like that? Let me know in the comments down below. And again, what are your opinions on this Power Rangers controversy, if you even knew it existed? In the comments down below. Otherwise, again, that is all for me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.